Hello friends, my name is Miss Heather and Miss Angie is also here with me today. We are talking about the moon or Earth's satellite because the moon does go around Earth. It is the 5th largest moon in the solar system, which includes the sun and our 8 planets. Earth's moon is the only place beyond Earth where humans have actually set foot. So this book right here shows a little bit of an astronaut, and we'll talk about the first person who stepped foot on the moon as well today. So the brightest and largest object in our night sky, the moon makes Earth a more livable planet actually by moderating our home planet's wobble on its axis. Okay, so basically it just actually is something we need. It's not just something fun and pretty to look at, it's actually something that our Earth needs. So it helps create a stable climate so it's warm enough here on Earth, even on a little bit chillier October day. And it also creates tides. So if you've ever gone to the ocean and you notice that the water kind of almost seemed to disappear, it's because it was at low tide. And then high tide is when the water comes back. It looks like everything is good and fine. And it's just a very interesting phenomenon. So that is all because of the pull on the Earth and between the moon. So the moon was likely formed after a Mars-sized body. Mars is a planet, and that Mars-sized body collided or ran into Earth. So kind of interesting how we got that. Earth's only natural satellite, which is simply truly called the moon, okay, and ours is the only one that is named the moon with a capital T and a capital M. But we didn't know about other moons until Galileo Galilei discovered it in 1610, in the year 1610. That's been so long ago. This moon of ours, though, it doesn't shine on its own. It's not like the sun that is a star. This moon is actually lit up or illuminated. It reflects the light of our sun. So that's kind of cool. Planets do that too. So sometimes you can see planets in the sky and they seem to look like a star, but they're truly just reflecting the sun's light. There are different phases of the moon. So I'm going to grab my little kind of chart. Sometimes you might use something like a paper plate to help you reenact the phases of the moon with Oreo cookies. A full moon today, October 1st, is a full moon, and then we will change and go through all the different phases, and by the end of October, on October 31st, we will have a second full moon. This is really a kind of a cool phenomenon. It does not happen very often. Every 3 years or so we have 2 full moons in the same month, and we call that a blue moon. So sometimes on the Smurfs, on that cartoon, they talk about looking for a blue moon, and it's not truly a blue colored moon at all. But it's just the happening, this just happens when there are 2 full moons in 1 month. And that happens in October 2020. So it's kind of neat that you're studying the moon right now. All right, so those are the phases of the moon: waxing, waning, gibbous. Those are all different kinds of phases you may learn about in your class, or you can kind of get to know just by looking that kind of information up with mom and dad at home too. I would definitely encourage you, if it's a weekend, to go out and see the moon, or maybe first thing if you happen to be up early, and you can drag mom or dad out of bed, maybe to go check out that moon and see what phase it's in, and just make note of those different phases, different times of the year. So that's kind of cool. It does take 29.5 days for all those phases to occur, and it takes the moon to orbit Earth 27.3 days, so around 27 days, or about 1 month for the moon to go around our Earth. There is an old English word called moonth, and that is just simply the moon. Okay, so in our world we say moon, and the old English they would say month instead. So if you take out one of those O's, all of a sudden you have our month. And that is really interesting to me to think of. Okay, well, our calendar is based on the moon and the earth and how long it takes for the moon to go around our actual earth. So that's kind of cool. So that little activity will help you kind of figure out what and how the moon goes around Earth, and therefore it follows the Earth around the sun, but it would never do it on its own. We also talked a little bit about the harvest moon and that book, and that was kind of neat in that this time of year in September and October, the farmers can use that extra moonlight on the full moon near the switch of seasons, so like on the fall equinox, which typically happens in late September around the 23rd or so. And in the old times, farmers didn't have fancy combines or fancy lights and things like that, and they really truly needed the moon's light to help them complete their harvest. And so today we can think of that harvest moon and just appreciate that we have lots of modern technology like lights on our cars and our combines and things like that. On the moon, there is absolutely no air. So when you see pictures like this one of a real astronaut, okay, this was again, we're going to talk about this man and who was the first man to step on our moon. He did not have any air, so when they went, they had to figure out a way that he could breathe in this special kind of helmet so that he can have oxygen and could survive. If he took that off or it got broken in some way, he would not be able to survive standing on the moon. So that's kind of interesting. I was researching a little bit for this program, and I wanted to check about water on the moon. And in the past, I've always taught students that there is no water on the moon. However, in the year 2018, scientists, biologists, etc., discovered that water ice is on the surface of the moon. And that's the first time ever that anyone has ever discovered that water ice exists on the moon. So that was really interesting for me to learn myself. Other things that we should know about the moon is 1 day on the moon actually equals 2 weeks here on Earth. And the temperature on the moon then during those 2 Earth weeks is actually 260 degrees. So it is very, very, very warm to be on the moon for those 2 full weeks. The other 2 weeks of the month, the Earth month, is essentially dark, and the temperature is no longer a hot 260. Now it's negative 280 degrees approximately. Atmosphere on the moon, and so therefore it doesn't hold the heat in like it does here on Earth. So on Earth, our temperature today is around 50, and tonight it will get fairly cool, but it's not going to drop or change 500 degrees in any point in time on Earth. And so our atmosphere, even though we don't think about that little it's kind of holding our air in here on Earth, it's really, really important to us. The moon doesn't have an atmosphere, and therefore it's very warm during the 2 Earth weeks of day, and it's very cold during the 2 Earth weeks at night. The other thing I want to point out and talk a little bit about this man again, when he walked on the moon, it was difficult, okay? It's not like walking here because there's only 1/6 of the amount of gravity on the moon. So if you weighed 90 pounds here on Earth, you would only weigh 15 pounds on the moon. Okay, you would be much lighter, and so it would almost look like you're bunny hopping or kind of stumbling or falling because the gravity doesn't hold you down. Right now, gravity is holding me down here on Earth, just like it's holding you in your classroom down. But on the moon, there's less of that gravity, and therefore you kind of bounce or kind of look like you're hopping on the moon's surface. So I'd encourage you to find a video and see if you can watch that. So who was this first man on the moon? Was he from the United States of America? Yes, he was. And his name is Neil Armstrong, and he stepped on the moon in the year 1969. He was truly the first person, even though the Soviet Union had landed an aircraft or a spacecraft, a rocket called Luna 1 and Luna 2 in 1959, but no person had walked or stepped on the moon until Neil Armstrong did it for the United States of America. So that's kind of cool that we were the first ones. Now, there are a couple things that people have left on the moon when they've gone to visit, such as the American flag and things like that. Okay, well, I think that is pretty much all that I wanted to share with you about the moon. If you do have questions, please let me know, and we will answer those questions as best we can. All right, enjoy learning about the moon. Bye-bye.